Hi, friends, and welcome to Season 3 of the School Librarian Learning Network podcast. I'm Steve Tatro, often known as Dr. T Loves Books, and I love talking about all things related to school libraries. I'm an old dog who's always trying to learn new tricks. That's why in each episode of the SLLN podcast, I'll chat with a school librarian about a lesson, program, or activity they love. Hopefully, this can be a place for school librarians to get ideas and find new ways to engage with their students and staff. Speaking of which, I'd love to hear about what you and your friends are doing in your school library. Email me at drtlovesbooks@gmail.com. That's drtlovesbooks@gmail.com to tell me about what you're doing, offer feedback about the SLLN podcast, or to request a podcast sticker. As Amy Herman likes to say, being a guest on a podcast is a great way to show your admins you are engaged in meaningful professional development and leadership in the profession. So drop me a line and let's chat. That being said, the opinions and ideas shared in this podcast by myself and my guests are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. I just like to geek out about school libraries. So without further ado, let's get to this week's episode. Hey everybody, we are back. I am back with a friend, Stacy Gilbert. I cannot wait to talk to her. She sent some awesome ideas, and this one was one that really grabbed my interest, so we're going to get into that. But before we do, I need to actually say, hi, Stacy. Welcome. Why don't you take a second to tell folks who you are, where you're at, and what you do?
I am so happy to be here. I am stoked to have this conversation with you. So I'm Stacy Gilbert. I am a school librarian for grades 7 through 12. Our school is about 3,200 students.
Wow.
In Northern Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. So the school is large. In Virginia, we are so amazingly blessed with school librarians being embedded in the standards of accreditation for schools, that every school has to have a school librarian.
That is
And
awesome.
if you have over 1,000 students as a middle or high school, you automatically get a second librarian.
Ooh, okay.
And
Love that.
because my school is technically a middle school and a high school, we get staffed as two separate schools. So
Ooh.
therefore, we have 2 middle school librarians and 2 high school librarians, 4 of us all working in the same library, serving the same kids. So
That is amazing. Wow.
it's a very unique situation. We're one of 3 such schools in our district, and I don't know of anyone else around the country. So if anyone listening has a similar situation, reach out because I would love to chat.
That is, yeah, it's got to be really interesting to have 4 librarians working in the same space. And you said that since it's like seen as middle school and a high school, it's separate staff. Do you also sort of divide up duties or collections along those lines, or is it pretty much just all hands on deck for everybody?
We operate as all hands on deck.
Yeah.
All students are our students. There are others of our kind of similar schools in the district that do departmentalize more and are a little more strict about, being at a certain level. But we are, we kind of play to each other's strengths and try to divvy up the best we can, and try to support where in the places that we all maybe could use a little help.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great because you can probably we're not all experts at everything, and other people have strengths and weaknesses. So able to sort of fill in those gaps in coverage has got to be great to have those extra people to talk to and kind of work with.
Absolutely. I mean, we are all better together than we are individually, right? So
absolutely.
So it's great to have other people around to bounce ideas off of and a co-plan and all of those things. And we all have kind of our pet projects and our kind of really it's more passion projects. The
Right.
things that we're super committed to, and so that's really nice that it gives us the opportunity to do that, and it makes the library experience richer, which is great. And we
Absolutely.
can reach more students and more teachers and all of those things. So my school, the students speak something like 90 different home languages.
Wow.
Yeah, and every kind of stretch of socioeconomic, of racial identity, of gender identity, of every kind of different category that often the kids get put into, right? my school has a massive variety of experiences and identities within that. So it's really great to work with a team of librarians because we all connect with different students. We have different experiences and bring different expertise. And so, it's part of that. Diversity makes us all better, right?
Well, absolutely. And so I'm kind of curious because I recently spoke with your wife.
Yes.
Rachel Grover was recently on an episode. In fact, I think she's going to be on the episode right before this one. So if you're listening in a row, folks, we might get the couple together. But what I
Right.
don't know is, I've never met a school library couple where both people were school librarians. And do you guys both teach in the same? You're not in the same school, are you?
No,
Okay.
we're not in the same school, but we're in the same district.
Okay.
So, what's so funny is our schools are about between 30 and 45 minutes away, depending on traffic.
Okay.
And so we serve, even though we're in the same district, I mean, our district is I think we're at the ninth largest in the US right now.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's, it's pretty gigantic. But our schools are so very different. And so that's really interesting that we can, um, collaborate and problem solve together. But sometimes there are things that, oh, what works for you is not going to work for me kind of situations.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. And that's got to be great too, just to have that. I mean, I talk to my wife about what goes on in my library, but she's sort of like, okay, that's cool. And then we go back to watching TV. So I imagine having someone you can actually like bounce ideas off of, that's got to be pretty awesome. Although
Oh,
maybe a little hard to kind of leave the office behind sometimes.
I, yes, absolutely on both of those things. Uh, she was the one who became a librarian first. We were both classroom teachers and we taught at the same school. And then when she went into her library program and then became a librarian, she would come home just glowing about how wonderful it was in the library. Look at all these students I've helped. Look at all these teachers I'm helping. My day was wonderful. Meanwhile, I'm teaching middle and high school math and
Mm.
grading trigonometry proofs and just like, and so she convinced me to go to library school, and it was the best idea ever, and so it was, absolutely wonderful to have, somebody at home to learn from and to talk issues out with, and, like I said, we collaborate on things and, steal each other's ideas and all of those things, which is great. But yeah, the leaving it behind can be very difficult. We have a very strict rule that in July, there is no school talk allowed for the
Okay.
entire month of July.
I think
Um,
it's a very good rule to have.
right? So, and sometimes I mean, we go back to school, or, we report back before the kids, right at the beginning of August. It's usually around August 1st, August 2nd,
Hmm.
something in there. And so as we're getting closer, it starts getting really hard. Things I want to talk to you about. And we just can't. And then August 1st, it's like the dam opens and it's like, here's all the things I've been thinking about.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Now, it's interesting that you were a math teacher. I didn't realize that. That rather unusual path for folks to come from math into the library. Has it
Absolutely.
been I'm curious what your experience was going from the math classroom into the library. Was it a real shock to be in a different venue there?
Well, okay, so a little bit about my kind of history with school libraries.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was not a huge fan of the library.
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid that was a reader, and books were my safe place, but
Mm-hmm.
the school library was not.
Yes.
And the public library, frankly, was not,
Hmm.
because I was also a poor kid, and fines were a thing that
Mm.
kept me away. And, I wanted to hold on to those books forever because I didn't have any other books in my house.
Yeah.
And so then it became, the fear of punishment and all of those things, right?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So then when I went into education and became a math teacher, I never once had a school librarian reach out to me and offer support,
Hmm.
offer instruction.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And so as I'm watching my wife go through the program and hearing the things she's talking about and how she's supporting teachers, I was thinking, but why isn't anyone doing that for me and my colleagues?
Yeah.
Why aren't we getting the same support? And that was absolutely one of the reasons that I went into library. It's like everyone deserves this support, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
everyone needs to feel like they belong. And so one of my pet projects in the library is I always try to do something special for Pi Day and try to really ham up, the kind of math nerdiness. And I do so Pi Day, March 14th, is also Einstein's birthday, which a
Oh,
lot of
I
people
don't
don't
think I
know,
realize that.
right? Everyone thinks of it as like, oh, 314 for pi. Okay, haha. But March 14th is actually Albert Einstein's birthday. So we do an Einstein's birthday party digital escape room
Ooh,
for Pi Day usually.
that's
And
awesome.
the kids have a lot of fun with it. So anyway, so that's, I try to bring in my math nerdiness other ways. But yeah, it was definitely it sometimes is a unique situation when I go to conferences and things because so many people if they have a teaching background, it's an English teaching background
Hmm.
that for me, like I've never taught a book, in an instructional way. It has
Hmm.
only been choice reading. And there are some other things that come up sometimes. It's like I've never done that. That is not something in my experience.
Hmm.
And so I think sometimes um my experience can be kind of a gut check on some other people where that line is between English teacher and librarian. Like
Mm.
if I didn't learn it in library school, then it's probably not library. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have a much starker line, I think, than most people
That's
because of
so
that.
interesting. And I imagine too, like not having had the library support when you were a math teacher, that you're reaching out to your math department probably much more effectively. I mean, that you're reaching out at all is probably more than a lot of math teachers have gotten in the past. So that's got to be great. Hmm.
I mean, I hope I'm helping them. But yes, I sit on several of the math CTs, sorry, like the collaborative teams,
Okay.
all the teachers who teach the same class. So all the Algebra 1 teachers, all the geometry teachers, that kind of thing. So I sit on several of those teams and go to their meetings when I can, um, because the library can be a hop in place, right?
Yeah.
But but when I can, I try to go and, yeah, I've done, like I said, escape rooms for them. I've done, team building activities. There's one teacher who, maybe we'll get to talk about it in another podcast, that we did, building catapults and the students, gathered data to find the curve of best fit. And so it did freak, or it surprised some of the students that I could talk the math with them. They were not
Mm.
expecting me to
Uh-huh.
know, to be able to check their math over their shoulder, like, no, you didn't do that formula, right?
That's awesome. Oh man. So I'm going to give the audience a little bit of a peek behind the curtain because Stacey and I have been emailing back and forth and she sent this amazing list of all these awesome things she does. And I desperately want to have her coming back many, many times so we can talk about all of them. And I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit right now for not having chosen the catapult one, but we are going to talk about that at some point. But to be fair, I did pick something else for this time around. So I'm going to kind
Sure.
of bring us back around in that direction. And I'm going to ask, like, where did this sort of idea come from for this lesson that you do with the students?
So this particular lesson is about presentation skills, and it was born out of um, one of our teachers that is in a department that I feel like every district calls it something different. Um, Back in the day, she probably would have been called a home ec teacher.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
In my district, they're called FACS teachers, family and consumer science.
That's where
Uh,
we're at, I believe, right now. Yeah.
okay, so think that department,
Mm-hmm.
and she especially focuses on cooking and um, technically this particular class is called gourmet foods,
Love it.
which right? They make some great stuff. Just saying she was a great person to connect with because when the kids make something good, sometimes she'll clue me in and I can go and taste test. It's great.
Nice.
But anyway, so she's very sweet, but she is very tech nervous.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm
And so
familiar with the type.
yeah, so she's not averse to it. It just it makes her nervous, and so she kind of avoids it if she can.
Mm-hmm.
But she had this project she wanted to do where the students create in groups, create their own restaurant and their own menu.
Ooh.
And so she had all the content pieces that she needed for it, but she wanted somebody to help the kids make their presentation slides in Canva.
Okay. Okay.
And um, we are lucky enough, not only do we have 4 librarians, but we have a very robust tech staff as well.
Oh, great.
In my district, we have one person at every school who is designated as the hardware person. So they're the ones in charge of like device distribution,
Huh.
and another person who is the instructional tech person.
Okay. Wow.
And at my school, remember, we're staffed as 2 separate schools. So we have
Ah.
2 of each of those categories of people,
Wow.
and both offices are in the library.
Ooh, nice.
So we're kind of like a one-stop shop, which is great. And I absolutely adore our tech team. We work very closely with them very often. But often, I mean, the school is huge. There's no way that any of us could reach everybody that we need to, right? So, we ended up having these kind of moments of professional development where the instructional tech people really wanted to highlight different tech tools, but there were more tech tools that they wanted to highlight than just the 2 of them. So they reached out
Mhm.
to us to, so some of the librarians would help give some of these sessions. And I use Canva a lot. 'Cause, one of my kind of designations in the library is signage. So I'm doing a
Ah.
lot of Canva signage pretty much all the
Mhm.
time. And so I volunteered, yeah, I'll do the Canva one. So this particular teacher came to my Canva little session. And so like the next week, she reached out to me like, "Hey, I have this project, but I want them to do it in Canva. Will you teach the kids Canva?"
Okay.
Like, "Okay, oh, sure. Hey, let's talk about this." Right? And because I know in my head, all of my students have used Canva in several other classes. They are very comfortable with it, unless
Mhm.
you're asking them to do something very specific and techy that they've never encountered before. They're
Mhm.
probably going to be fine, right?
Yeah.
They don't really need a whole lot in Canva. But as we were talking, I was asking her, so how have these gone in the past? And she said, "Oh, they really get the content. They have great restaurants, but their presentations." Oh, they're just so painful. These kids, they just cannot do a presentation. And
Mm.
so that's when I floated, well, I could help with that. And she absolutely jumped on board with this. Like, yes, please, whatever you can do to help these students.
I
And
love
so
that you took it in that direction because I feel like so often people go to the library and they want technology help or they want, idea help, but I don't know that the library is a place people think of as being like a presentation skills learning space. It absolutely can be and should be. So I love that this is something that you kind of introduced to her and said like, hey, this is something we can work on. So that's awesome.
I mean, it is real world skills, right?
Yes.
The public speaking pieces and being able to
Mhm.
convey your ideas in a comprehensible manner using a slide deck is a skill these kids need as they move into
Absolutely.
adulthood. And um, so, yeah, anything I can do to help ease that transition. Because, I mean, full disclosure, I grew up with the internet, with the formation of the internet. As the
Mhm.
internet grew, so did I, kind of situation. And so I'm from word art in Publisher, and you hit all the buttons, right,
Yes.
to see what
Right.
all the options are.
Uh-huh.
And
Got to try all the animations on every slide. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
as many as possible, right? Like,
Yes,
you get more points the more animations you add, right?
exactly.
I think that's
Yes.
how this works. Uh, and my students still kind of have that instinct, right? Like,
Oh,
more
yeah.
is more.
Yep.
So, I figured if I can help that literacy piece, right? I mean, that is absolutely a literacy to be able to
Oh,
take knowledge you
definitely.
have, translate it into a digital format, and then give it orally. It, those are several different literacies right there.
Yeah.
So, if I can help that be a little more successful, then, oh, absolutely, I'm going to do that.
It's awesome. I'm so glad that you did. And I'm so glad that you're helping the students with this, because as a longtime English teacher who gave a lot of presentation projects, I feel the pain of, okay, we really need to spend some time just talking about how to give a presentation and how to set up slides so that they're not hurting people's eyes or so that you can actually read them.
Right?
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
So you put this awesome lesson together and you shared some slides, which people should absolutely check out. So, but I'm kind of curious, like, how does this unfold for the students? Like, are they coming to the library? Are you going to them? Where's it happening?
We've done it both ways. I prefer them to come to the library.
Okay.
Mostly because I want them to see the library as a place that they could come for any class. You never know when you might come to the library, right?
Absolutely.
So I like doing it in the library, but there have been times because of scheduling or, other things that I've had to do it in her classroom, and it's not a big deal. But um, it's a really fun lesson to do because, I by the time the students are able to take this gourmet foods class, most of them are at least 10th graders. Most of them are 11th or 12th graders. And so I have seen most of these students for years now. They're pretty used to me. They may not remember my name, but they know who I am,
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so at that point, I start the class just like I always start classes, and I'm really casual with the kids and hey, come on, let's sit down. So I'm really excited to share this with you today. I want to make sure that you're not gonna absolutely bomb on your presentation. So I'm gonna give you an example of a presentation. So I want you're gonna play the part of the audience. I'm playing the part of like one of your classmates giving this presentation. And so I want you to be on your best audience behavior, really lock in and be paying attention to every little thing I'm doing in this presentation. And so at that point, they're all, okay, I got this. And they're staring at me. And then I flip the slides, and it's anyone who goes to look at the slides, you'll notice it's about bees. And I tell them, it's about bees. Hang with me. It's just an example. And then I flip it, and the slides are just so ugly. So ugly. They are purposefully ugly, but they are so ugly. And I put my head down. If I have a piece of paper in front of me that I pretend I'm reading off of the piece of paper, face straight down, so you can barely hear me.
Verisimilitude. I love it.
Right? There is a slide that is just text, right? That you can barely see, but it's just a solid block of text. And for that slide, I turn and face the screen, so my back is to the students, and just read straight off the slide in as much monotone as I can possibly muster. I mean, I really try to just make this so painful. And it's so cute to watch the kids. You see their faces. At first they're confused, and then they really want to tune out, but also they're trying to be respectful. They don't want, they're trying, and then a lot of them just give up and start staring at the ceiling or whatever. And so then when I finish my thing, get to the sources slide, and then the very next slide is, ew, what was that? And so then I switch back to my kind of my normal teaching voice, right? I'm like, okay, that was terrible, right? That was terrible. And you see some kids, like, they don't really want to admit it. Like, they don't know
Right.
how to. And I'm like, no, it was terrible. Tell me what was terrible about it. And at first, no one wants to say anything. I was like, no, there's so many things. Tell me just one thing that was bad about that. You can tell anything that I did that annoyed you. And slowly they start naming, like, you were reading off the slides. Your back was to us. We couldn't hear you. I couldn't see the words. There were too many words on the slides. All these things, right? And so then we start going into like actual suggestions for how do you give a good presentation? How do you make slides that are accessible and easy to read and not overwhelming? So then at the end,
I love that. I love that you're doing the counter example to show them, because to us, it's the counter example. To them, it's business as usual. And so showing them, like, I have seen this presentation 1,000 times over 20 years. So I'm telling you, this is something that really happens. And for a while, I was teaching a class called Argument and Debate, and the students would actually do a little bit of critique of each other's debates. And we, kept it constructive, but it took them a while to kind of get in the habit of being like, okay, so here is something that, I think maybe they could improve on next time around. And I think making yourself the example and like making it clear, this is not good. And I want you to pick it apart because now you're actively engaged in dismantling this poorly done presentation. And hopefully that's going to stick in your head when it's time for you to do this thing. Love that you did it. Love that you're doing it that way.
And there is such power in the vulnerability of seeing an adult do something badly.
Yes.
Right. And I think so many times educators don't want to let kids see them fail or see them do something badly, even if it's intentionally. Right.
Right. Absolutely.
And so the power for the kids to get to see an adult do something that is and not good, right? And then be given the permission to pick it apart, right? Not only do I know that you were judging me, but I want you to judge me, right?
And I think there's also in there like the potential for a great lesson on, okay, let's talk about like, I want you to pick it apart. And then maybe we talk about constructive criticism, constructive feedback, as opposed to just, I didn't like the colors. Like, okay, but was there something more to that like makes this an important idea that we should be paying attention to? But I mean, I'm sure you get into all of that, but I'm just, I can't help myself. I always have to just throw out the things that are popping through my head as we're talking things through. So I apologize. I know you already do that with the kids. But so I interrupted you. You were talking about how once you get through having them sort of talk about some of the things that they're noticing that didn't go so well, where do you lead them next?
So then they're kind of a practice, and I think a lot of the kids really enjoy this part. They get edit access to a version of my slides. So they get to pick a slide and improve it using what we've talked about.
So clever. Oh, I love that. Man.
And so I think the kids really enjoy that because once again, they get to fix an adult, right?
Yeah. And having had the conversation. Yeah. Having had the conversation about here are the things that we notice were wrong, they're going in armed with the knowledge of here are things that I know I need to work on. And so, but also still having the freedom to decide how they're going to make those changes. That's a really awesome way to kind of give them both the agency of I understand that I need to do something and give them the freedom and the voice to play with how they're going to execute that goal.
Exactly. And so then once, they've had that kind of practice and it lets their teacher and I double check, make sure they were actually listening and observe something. Then I let them loose on Canva. Like, okay, so go make your slides. What are you going to do? What template are you going to pick? What are you going to delete off that template? Right?
I like that.
Because I love me a good template. However, most of the time, there's way more stuff on that template than is conducive for actual information delivery. So,
especially with the kind of projects the kids are doing, like a lot of those templates are set up for professionals for like a workplace. And so there's maybe not a use for a lot of those slides. So giving them not just permission, but encouraging them to kind of look at it and say, what is actually appropriate to the project you're doing, I think is a very valuable learning tool. And also giving them permission to say, it's okay to take stuff out of here because it's not going to be relevant to what you're doing. That's great.
Absolutely. And talking about how, the great thing about Canva is everything is editable. So do you need 16 little fishes on this slide? Probably not. You could probably get by with one or two and you'd be okay. Right. Not everything has to be just filled with stuff and elements and little graphics, right? You don't need
I'm going to encourage the audience to take a look at the slides you shared because you have the introductory ones, the not so great ones are a masterclass in all the ways you can go wrong in designing slides. And then you've got some real great examples. And I love there's one about making your design clean and just making, having white space. And that is something I'm working on a presentation right now. And I saw that slide. I was like, oh, I need to put more white space on my slides. Right. So I appreciated that.
You're the slide design piece comes from a class that I took in my library program.
Oh.
That it was I think it was our instructional technology basic class, but we read a book on like graphic design, basically.
Huh.
And I may have to go back and dig up that book now that I've mentioned
Yeah.
it on air, because I don't remember the name of it. But it it talked a lot about white space, and it completely changed my perspective of what does a well-designed, slide or poster or, graphic look like,
Mm-hmm.
because your eye needs space to rest.
Right.
Um, and one thing that I always emphasize when I'm, giving the suggestions to the students in this lesson is we talk about um, the way Steve Jobs designed slides.
Hmm.
His rule was 3 words or less,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
which, I mean, I've never been able to
Yeah.
measure up to Steve Jobs in
Mm-hmm.
lots of ways, including that one. Um, but the kind of more, slightly more relaxed version that is generally accepted by graphic designers is 6 by 6. No more than 6 bullets and no more than 6 words in a line or like in a bullet.
Interesting. Okay.
And so it helps your slides from getting overwhelming. You're not putting everything on your slides, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
putting keywords because you are the presentation, not the slides.
Right, right. And I love that you emphasize that you're making it clear, like, because I think that's something that even adults sometimes struggle with. If I'm giving a presentation, I need to put every piece of information in the slide deck because people are here for the presentation, but they're not there for the slides. They're there for the person who is supposed to be the one who knows what this is about and is able to talk about this. And so the slide should support you rather than being the main focus. And it's so
Exactly.
easy to forget that. I love that you get the students going that direction. That's so awesome.
Right. Now, it does get a little tricky when you start talking about, well, but the slides need to be um, referenceable, right? Like if people weren't able to make it or,
Mm-hmm.
absent students, they still need to be able to access this content.
Mm-hmm.
There can be uh, uh, that push to kind of, put everything in the slides,
Yeah.
but there has to be an element of that the information can't be overwhelming. Now,
Yeah.
maybe that means more slides so you can space
Mm-hmm.
out the info. Maybe that means, some kind of verbal component. Every situation is different,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, there's definitely that instinct, I think, in a lot of adults, mostly to just put it all in because, well, people will have to go back and reference it later. But
Mm-hmm.
there's still ways to
Mm-hmm.
do it without being overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also, there's a lesson in there about considering who's the audience, what's the context that this is going to be used in, how much do I need to include in the slides versus how much should I be talking about it. So that's a potentially another little mini lesson inside of this awesome lesson to just kind of get people thinking about how much really does need to be here for a future audience.
Yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
absolutely. Because, maybe not everything needs to
Yeah.
be, and not every little piece has to be there for everybody later.
Yeah. Well, and I absolutely fall into that trap of I try and make my slide decks so that they can stand on their own without me having to present them necessarily. Because a lot of times, we share stuff in the school library world and it's not everybody's going to be able to sit down and listen to me talk for an hour as I go through the slides. But if they've got all the information on the slides, then they've got it there. But it also is very visually cluttered. So you're absolutely right. I need to give a little more thought to my design process, but I am going to benefit from this lesson as much as your students. So I appreciate this.
Well, you're very welcome. And know that, I also have to go back and edit my slides and things too. I am absolutely the person who writes the email and then goes back and eliminates some of the exclamation points. So I don't sound like a crazy person.
Mm,
So,
I'm on that train.
right. I just, I want to make sure, I'm excited. And
Yep.
so,
I do get very excited. It
same.
sounds
It's okay.
like it sounds like the kids are really getting some awesome hands-on, both guidance, also a lot of freedom to sort of make this work in a way that applies to the project, like makes it very individual to them, which is awesome. How often have you done this lesson with the students?
It is an annual lesson. It's a
Okay.
year-long class. So, um, and we're coming up on it again for this year. I think this will be the 4th year, maybe,
Okay.
that I've done it. So,
So you've kind of had a chance to refine and, smooth off the rough edges and stuff as you've gone along.
oh yeah, the first few times doing it, I mean, the first pancake is never the one you keep. Uh,
Nope.
so there have definitely been some revisions as we've gone, but
I imagine, though, that if you're coming up on the 4th year of doing this in collaboration with this teacher, clearly this teacher is finding value in this lesson that you're doing.
I mean, I hope so. Uh, I hope that's the reason and not just, I could really use a day where someone else is talking to the kids instead of me. Uh, but,
Something
but
tells me that's not the case.
I hope not. But she is very sweet, and I think she is excited to have someone else who is not quite so scared of the tech around to be able
Mhm.
to talk to the kids about the tech side of it. Like she is not exactly confident when it comes to making slides or using Canva. So having
Mhm.
me there, I think, is an element of security for her.
Sure, absolutely. I'm kind of curious. The kids give you feedback as you're sort of asking them to critique your initial presentation to them. Have you heard or seen any kind of feedback about how they're applying what you're talking through with them?
So the teacher I work with has made comments that like, oh, their presentations were much better than they used to be. The first couple of times we did it, she's like, oh yeah, that really helped, which was great.
Hmm.
But I think the most rewarding piece now, this class is not a hugely popular class. I think it's usually 2 sessions, so 2 class periods for
Okay.
the whole school. So there's not many kids who take it, is my
Hmm.
point. So that means there's not many kids getting this exact lesson.
Okay.
Now, I have done it in different contexts and slightly different, um, forward lessons and things to talk about presentation skills.
Hmm.
But, this exact iteration is not, a large group of kids. But
Okay.
being able to see those students in other contexts do presentations,
Hmm.
I've been able to see that learning still stick, which is
That's
great.
great.
When, the next year they come in for their big, AP research presentation and I'm looking at their slides. Oh, I know where that came from? And so
That's
that's really
awesome.
fun.
Yeah. When you get that cross-pollination and they're able to that's when you know it's really a valuable and important lesson that you have gotten them to really latch onto, that they're able to transfer those skills into other places and other situations. That's such a testament to what you're doing there. Wow. So
Absolutely. And
good.
and I try to emphasize to the students, like, this is not just for this project. This is life.
Yeah.
These are the rules that I live by when I create presentations for conferences and when I create presentations for lessons and when all of those things. Business people create presentations and
Oh
um,
yeah.
like you're gonna use this, and this is just skills in general. This is not just for this project. And so getting to see some of the kids actually take that to heart and apply it is really great.
Yeah. So you're saying it's a very relatively small portion of your school population that's getting this specific version of the lesson. I'm just kind of curious, is there any, I don't know if you've had to make any sort of adaptations, differentiation, if there's like different ability levels that you have to sort of adjust for, or kind of sounds like it's, I don't know. To my mind, it would be a fairly homogenous group that's going to be selecting into this class, but I might be completely off base here.
Actually, it's pretty varied.
Okay.
You have a lot of kids who um just need a couple more credits to graduate and it's
Ah,
senior year. You
gotcha.
also have some kids that are really committed to going into the culinary industry. And so that is a career path for them they're really passionate about.
Hmm.
We also have quite a few kids that get special education services that end up
Okay.
taking classes in that department. And so you kind of get this mix of kids, which is really interesting because also for this project, they're working in groups, and these are very um, uh, very varied groups in ability level and interest level, to be perfectly honest, um,
Okay.
and all of those things. And so it's yeah, it's interesting to see them work together. Most of the kind of differentiation that I've done within the lesson is through a tech tool that I don't know. My district uses it a lot. I don't know how popular it is outside of just us, but we use Pear Deck a lot.
Okay.
And so Pear Deck is a tech tool that you have to kind of sign up for as a school level, I believe. You have to sign up the whole school. But the great thing about it is you can embed interactivity into any slide presentation.
Okay.
So as we are talking about, suggestions, what did you notice on the slides? We're talking about it verbally, but also on their individual student laptop, there's a place for them to type their answers at the same
Oh.
time.
Huh.
So it allows this kind of dual channel for
Mhm.
students that maybe verbally is not the best way for them to show their learning, or they would rather die than speak in front of anyone, all of those
Mhm.
things. It gives them a chance to show their learning too. And so that's really great. And I can see their responses on my screen. So as we are, having that kind of live and in person verbal conversation, I can also be pulling in like, oh, hey, someone also mentioned, you know, the bees moved around too weird. You're right. They did move too weird, that kind of thing. So that, yeah, you just get a little bit more of that participation and differentiate a little bit.
Yeah. Hmm. I like that. I mean, I am theoretically such a huge fan of multi-channel communication with the students. Actually implementing it can be a real trick. So Pear Deck is definitely a tool that we might need to think about to help enable that. I like that.
Yeah, it definitely makes that piece a lot easier. But also because of that, it's very expensive. So
Mm,
I
yeah.
don't think that there's a whole lot of districts out there that probably have the ability to do it. But it is hugely helpful for these kinds of lessons because also not only do they have a place to type their answers, but they get to see the slides on their screen as I'm presenting them. So for students with visual needs, or I'm just the kind of person that like I would rather have it close to me so I feel like I can see all the details.
Mm-hmm.
So for those kids, they're looking at their own screen while I'm doing my terrible presentation, but they get an up close and personal experience of all those terrible animations. And so it,
That is a great feature. Huh. I
yeah,
like
so
that.
it is very
Kind of the
helpful if you have,
simulcast.
if you have the ability, it's really nice.
So I know people are going to want to play around with this and work on ways they can bring this to their students. Do you have any suggestions for folks if they're going to be trying this out for the first time, like something they should have in mind or ways they might want to approach it? I mean, I love what you're doing. I mean, ideally, I'd love to have you just come in and do it for me. But barring that, I can see how you have set this up in a way that really makes sense to me. But I'm just kind of curious if there's any lessons that you have learned that people might want to be aware of.
Say the biggest lesson is really commit to being terrible.
Yes.
I mean, just drive it home,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, every terrible student presentation you've ever had to sit through, just channel it and then amplify it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you try to hedge it a little bit, the impact won't be as good. You
Right.
need the absolute terrible. The kids hate this. They feel like they have been personally attacked by having to sit through this presentation. Um, and it's that emotional response, how you get that engagement to like, okay, let's
Mm-hmm.
make this better. Otherwise,
Right.
it's just, make sure you practice first and
Right.
don't, like it's such a bland, just like list of do's and don'ts if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have that emotional reaction at the beginning. So really,
Absolutely.
really commit.
Yes. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I don't know why, but this morning I was thinking about how a lot of educators who have been either in theater or in acting in some way, they tend to be very good at performing for the students. Obviously, like they've got those skills, but it really depends on you just going all in. Like whatever you just, like you said, you got to commit to it and you just got to know that you are doing this for a cause, for a reason. And you might think you're looking foolish. You might feel foolish, but it is so incredibly important to you gotta just buy into it and just be in the moment with it. And that's one of the things I miss a little bit about being in the classroom is just being on stage every day and getting to, perform in different ways for the kids. But this is in particular, I think this lesson really would benefit from just that, like you said, going all in and just leaving it all out there so that the kids are really able to get that real sense of what it's like to have to sit through these over and over again.
Exactly.
Stacy, this lesson is awesome. And I love that I am learning as much as your students are learning. So thank you for sharing it because I'm absolutely going to be using some of these tips with my presentation I'm doing next week. I can tell you that right now.
There we go. Well, you're welcome. I'm glad it's helpful.
And I think we've reached that point now. We're going to make our 90-degree turn and go into our book break.
Book break. Sweetie.
I love the book break. Woo!
You need a little theme song or something. You need a little jingle like book break, book break. I don't know. I'm not
going to clip that out. That's going to be my new jingle right there.
Please don't.
So when we get to our book break, it's any kind of book you want to share, something you want folks to have on their reading radar. It can be personal, professional, whatever. So what's some stuff that you might want folks to kind of be having on their TBR list?
All right. So I can never pick just one. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no. It's like picking your favorite child. You can't do it.
Right? It's impossible. So I had in mind a couple. One, it's kind of an oldie now, but a very, very goodie. It's Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain by Zaretta Hammond. It is a book that I had heard about for now years, but had always kind of been on my TBR list, but never had like gotten around to it. And then finally this year, we have an instructional coach in my building that really wanted to do a book club around a professional learning book. And to be honest, because she's not a librarian, she picked a terrible book. The one she wanted to do was really bad. So I said, well, what if? And she was absolutely fine with doing culturally responsive teaching in the brain instead. And she's like, so you'll help me lead it, right? Sure. Great.
Hoisted by your own petard.
Right? Absolutely. But it turned out really good because it actually made me read the book. And now I get it. Like, no wonder people have been talking about this book for years. So take this as your sign. If you were like me and it's like been on your list forever and you just haven't gotten around to it, get around to it. It is such a great book about brain science and how brains learn, what brains need in order to learn, and what that actually means for teachers and educators working with students. Like it is a very practical, sometimes you get these books that are all like kind of theoretical, but no, it takes the theory and takes it down to nitty gritty. So therefore this is what you need to be doing.
Love
And
that.
yeah, just great. So if it's in your stack, put it at the top. It's great.
All right. Gonna move that one up the list.
Right. See, I told you. And then I thought of the book that I have read this year that I love the most is Girls Like Her by Melanie Sumrow, I believe is her name. I want to say she's a debut author, but I could be making that up. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But it was excellent. It's a girl who is on trial for murder. And it's told through court transcripts and texts and interviews with her court appointed psychologist. And just excellent. And it's one of those that as you're going, you're really questioning, is this girl even a reliable narrator?
Hmm.
And it's very twisty turny, but very accessible because of all the different formats.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Is
so
this YA or is this adult?
it's YA, although I think really as young as about 8th grade could probably be
Okay.
okay with it, but it
Mm-hmm.
does address some pretty heavy topics.
Okay.
Like, the girl, let's say, has our main character has not made great choices in her life and has
Gotcha.
been used by people in her life. So
Mm,
it is pretty gritty in that way. But
gotcha.
um, but yeah, great YA, fully support and endorse. It kind of has Game Changer by Greenwald meets Allegedly by Tiffany Jackson vibes.
Okay. All right. I'm a big Tiffany Jackson fan.
Right? Me
That
too.
that sounds good. Huh.
Um,
Well,
and then one I did not tell you about. I'm gonna be sneaky
bring it.
because it's the book I'm in the middle of right now,
Okay.
and I cannot stop thinking about it. So even though I haven't finished it, I feel like I have to mention it. And it is Icarus. It's a YA by Kay Ancrum,
Okay.
and oh my gosh, just so beautiful. It has this kind of ethereal quality to it. It's kind of dreamy feeling, and it's just beautiful about a boy who his father is an art restorer, but kind of on the side, how he really makes his money is he's an art thief.
Ah.
He makes our main character do his thieving.
Hmm.
So in one of his heists, he happens upon another boy his age that wasn't supposed to be there. And so it's about these two boys and also about our our main character learning how to let people in. And
Huh.
it's so beautiful. And like I said, I'm still not quite done. So talk to me in like 2 days. I may be like, it's the worst book ever.
Yeah.
It's right. But so
Got the
far,
real clunker of an ending.
right? Or let's be honest. I mean, I have every faith that the author is going to end the book in the same beautiful tone that she has written the rest of the book.
Yeah.
Uh, but if it doesn't end like I want it to end, we might have a problem. So, so we'll see. I hope for a good ending, but we'll have to see.
Huh. Well, I mean, so many great recommendations here. I have been, one of my New Year's resolutions is to work on my Goodreads TBR list because it
Oh.
was at 597 on January 1st.
Woo!
Yeah. So it
Buddy.
was down to 593 and then it's back up to 598 and now it's going to be at 601. So,
Oops.
thank you for that. But
You're welcome.
But these sound great. I mean, that's awesome. Man. Well, Stacy, I am so thankful that you were willing to take the time to come and share this and it's such a great lesson for our students to be learning. And I love that it's coming out of the library because this is the kind of lesson I might expect from maybe like an English classroom or like a performing arts class. And I love that instead you're making it a library thing because like you said, it is a skill that applies to everything. And the library is there for everything. So this is a great tie-in. Now,
right?
I know folks are going to want to find you online. Where do they go looking for you if they want to track you down? Because they should absolutely be following you and seeing all the awesomeness you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Probably the easiest way to find me now is Blue Sky. I am MamaGilbs, AMA Gilbs on Blue Sky. It just backstory for a second.
Yeah.
It's 100% a name that a student gave me when I was a classroom teacher, and it just stuck. So now I'm just MamaGilbs everywhere. Which I was like, hey, I've been called worse. I will stick with that one. That's fine.
Seriously.
So anyway, so I am MamaGilbs on Blue Sky. Find me there. Also, if you want to just straight email me, feel free to do so. I think my email's in the show notes as well, but I am MamaGilbs Library at Gmail because someone had already stolen this MamaGilbs on Gmail.
What?
And that's just rude.
Seriously.
So I'm MamaGilbs Library there.
I have a feeling you're going to be getting lots of people touching base with you, because if they're not, they're crazy, because you've got so many awesome things going on. And hopefully we'll be having you back sometime soon, because like I said at the beginning, you shared so many great ideas, and we are definitely going to have to revisit some of those. So at some point, I'm going to lure you back in. But
absolutely. I am here for it.
Awesome. I love that. Audience, you heard it, so she's got to come through now. We've got it on tape.
There we go.
Well,
I'm locked in.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you taking the time and sharing this great idea. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the SLLN podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes for the episode. They feature links to resources shared by our guest, as well as ways to keep in touch with them, and links to the book break titles. I'd love to hear from you. If you have feedback, a comment, an idea, a question, or something you want to share, you can email drtlovesbooks@gmail.com. That's drtlovesbooks@gmail.com. Know a librarian with something we could learn from? Let us know. Until next time, be good, be safe, and be well.